Well, here we are. Thoughts from the office, Rednecks Pride Outdoors. Doing a second video on a bunch of questions that came in today. I mean, just a bunch. First video I did was the length of the system. This one I'm going to do on how to check the load on your cable restraint or your snare. I'm not going to go into detail on how to load it because I don't know whose system you're using. I don't know what load you're using or whatever. But essentially, we have a few different types of loads. We have no load. That's the teardrop. That's a load that is mainly used with a 7x7 cable, whether it's 3/32, 5/64, or whatever. But it's a teardrop load, and that load right there is no load. A lot of guys in the north, Canada and what have you, in the snow belt, use that. A lot of folks out west in the wide open prairies use that also. That is a load that stays put where it's at, and when the animal, the coyote or the fox or whatever, puts his head into that loop, they literally drag that loop shut. And you see a lot of big washer locks and a lot of big locks on those things get the gravity to flow down. Next load is going to be a standard load, which is what most of you are going to have when you get a cable restraint or snare loaded. Most of it's going to be a standard load, and that's going to be a load to where most of the time you're going to put your lock on 10 and 2. You're looking at me saying 10 and 2. Okay, 10 and 2. Okay, but anyway, the clock, 12 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? All right, that's it. So that's the load that most are going to be loaded at. It's a good load. It's good at canine load. The next load is going to be what we call an overload. That's where it's this portion of the cable is really put into memory. Okay, it's really kinked down. It's a super fast, super sensitive load. The problem is when you get some big loads, bigger loops with that overload, it's going to shut on its own with just the slightest breeze or a brush by or whatever. And then the last load would be a double load. We're not going to even worry about the double load at this point. So I'm going to talk about the first 3 loads, or not even the first 3 loads. I'm going to talk about how to check your load on your cable restraint. Now, what I see a lot of folks do is they load their cable, and then I see them do this. They go, "Boy, that's fast." Listen, the animal does not hit this side of the snare. They hit this part. So when I put my load into this and I do this, yeah, it looks great. It really does. The problem is when you take that, all right, look, watch this. It fires, right? Now I'm on a 2 and 10. Now watch this. All right, so you're doing yourself a disservice by checking to see how fast your cable is by taking it and pulling it sideways. Animals don't hit it sideways, they hit it out. So the number one thing you want to do is you want to take your cable, you want to make your loop, and you're going to hold that right there by your lock. You don't hang it, that's not how you hang it. You put that lock right against your support. All right? And there's 2 firing mechanisms that's going to happen with the animal. It's either going to be swing out or it's going to be downward pressure. And I'm not going to bore you with the slanted neck, vertical nest, all that time. I'm not going to talk about that tonight. All I'm going to talk about is checking the load for yourself. If you're on a standard load, you're going to be typically a swing out fire. That's where the chest of the animal or the animal is going to hit right here. Okay? And when they hit right here, they're going to push this out. And what they're going to do is they're going to push this out to that and then extend it and it fires. Okay? That should hurt your finger. It should move pretty quick. It should, once it starts, if it's loaded properly, once it comes in and it's out here, okay, and he puts that other 2 inches on, it should fire on its own. You could actually just drop I'll do that one more time. You take it, you pull it out, you fire it, it fires on its own. All right? Very little pressure, very little pressure. That's a good tuned snare. And that's going to happen whether you got a 2 o'clock, if I'm on 2 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever. All right, the same thing. Boom. All right. The next firing is going to be downward pressure. And that's where you're going to be, the animal's going to come in and he's going to put pressure on this, and you want to see how much is going to fire. So when it comes in, boom. All right, how much pressure it takes downward fire. All right, on a lot of your standard loads, like our standard load, we have it fixed to where it can be down, it can be, now we're going to be on a, I'm looking at the clock, 11 and 1. You're looking at the clock and it's 11 and 1. Okay, but we have our load to be on 11 or 1, our load. Doesn't mean everybody else's, our load. That way I can get a lot of, okay? But I can still get this, I can still get the swing out, all right? Or 11 and 1, I can get the downward fire. All right? Just real quick way of checking it out. If you normally put your cable restraint on a 2 o'clock or a 10 o'clock, 2 or 10, all right? Your swing out goes good. That's good. But check your downward fire on that also. Just so you're 2 o'clock here, check your downward fire. Now you can see, all right, at 2 o'clock, that's not going off. But at 11, it goes right on off. Again, the key is, if you take a standard load, a lot of the standard loads, if you put them on 11 and 1, they're going to shut on their own. Okay? So you want to check that stuff out. Know your load. Know your load of the cable. Okay? By knowing that, then you know where you can put your lock, where you need to put your lock, how high, how low. Okay? Because, for example, on this, I can go just a little bit higher because I can get this here, but I can also get this. All right? Study your system. Don't just hang it. Study your system. Yes, overthink it. All right. Thoughts from the office, Redneck's Pride Outdoors. I'll talk to you later.